In the bustling city of Chicago, Elena Martinez sat in her modest studio apartment, one hand resting on her 7-month pregnant belly. The November rain tapped against the window as she reviewed her dwindling bank account on her laptop. As a freelance graphic designer, work had dried up since her pregnancy became visible. Clients seemed to disappear when they saw her condition. Her phone rang, displaying an unknown number. Elena hesitated before answering. "Hello, is this Elena Martinez, the vocalist?" asked a crisp, professional voice. "Yes, this is she," Elena replied cautiously. "Wonderful. My name is Sandra Chen. I'm coordinating a high-profile wedding at the Riverside Grand Hotel next month. We need a singer for the ceremony and reception. The compensation is $3,000 for the evening." Elena's heart raced. $3,000 would cover her rent for 3 months and buy essential baby supplies. "I'm very interested," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Excellent. I'll email you the details within the hour. The wedding is December 20th. Does that work?" "Absolutely," Elena confirmed. After hanging up, Elena felt a surge of hope. Finally, something good was happening. She opened her laptop eagerly when the email arrived 30 minutes later. Then her world stopped. The email header read, "Wedding Performance Contract Event. The marriage celebration of Mr. James Blackwood and Miss Stephanie Lauron." James Blackwood. Her ex-boyfriend. The father of her unborn child. The man who had abandoned her 9 months ago when she told him about the pregnancy. Elena's hands trembled as she stared at the screen. James was getting married, and somehow, impossibly, she had been hired to sing at his wedding. Was this a coincidence? Or did James know exactly what he was doing? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, New York, Miami, London, or somewhere else. We love hearing from you. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our inspiring stories. Chapter 2. The Impossible Decision. Elena slammed her laptop shut and paced her small living room. Her mind spun with questions and emotions. How could this be happening? Did James orchestrate this deliberately, or was it a cruel twist of fate? Her phone buzzed with a text from the event coordinator. "Hello Elena, just confirming you received the contract details. Mr. Blackwood specifically requested a female vocalist with authentic emotional depth. Your demo was exactly what he wanted. Please confirm by tomorrow morning." The words, authentic emotional depth, made Elena's blood run cold. Those were James's exact words when they were together. He used to say, "Elena, your voice has this raw quality that makes people feel everything." He knew. James absolutely knew she was being hired. Elena didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her baby doing somersaults inside her. Why would James do this? To humiliate her? To show everyone how far he'd risen while she struggled? By morning, Elena had made a decision. She would decline the job. She still had some dignity, even if she was broke. But then she looked around her apartment. At the eviction warning on her counter. At her empty refrigerator. At the corner where a crib should be but wasn't because she couldn't afford one. When her best friend Rosa arrived that afternoon with groceries, Elena broke down crying and told her everything. "You should do it," Rosa said firmly. Elena stared at her in shock. "How can you say that? Listen to me, Elena. James thinks he has power over you. He thinks hiring you will make you look small. But what if you flip it? You need that money desperately. Take his trap and turn it into your triumph." Rosa continued. "Don't go as his victim. Go as Elena Martinez, a talented professional doing a job. And when you're done, walk out with $3,000 and your head high." Elena wiped her tears. "You really think I can do this?" "I know you can," Rosa said fiercely. "You've already survived heartbreak, poverty, and pregnancy alone. Singing at a wedding? That's nothing compared to what you've endured." That evening, Elena opened her laptop and typed a response to Sandra Chen. "Dear Sandra, Thank you for this opportunity. I accept the position. Please send the contract and song list. Sincerely, Elena Martinez. She hit send before she could change her mind. What Elena didn't know was that this decision would set off a chain of events that would change not just her life, but dozens of others who would witness what was about to unfold. Enjoying the story so far? Make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button. Comment below with your thoughts. Would you have accepted the job? We read every comment. In the bustling city of Chicago, Elena Martinez sat in her modest studio apartment, one hand resting on her 7-month pregnant belly. The November rain tapped against the window as she reviewed her dwindling bank account on her laptop. As a freelance graphic designer, work had dried up since her pregnancy became visible. Clients seemed to disappear when they saw her condition. Her phone rang, displaying an unknown number. Elena hesitated before answering. "Hello, is this Elena Martinez, the vocalist?" asked a crisp, professional voice. "Yes, this is she," Elena replied cautiously. "Wonderful. My name is Sandra Chen. I'm coordinating a high-profile wedding at the Riverside Grand Hotel next month. We need a singer for the ceremony and reception. The compensation is $3,000 for the evening." Elena's heart raced. $3,000 would cover her rent for 3 months and buy essential baby supplies. "I'm very interested," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Excellent. I'll email you the details within the hour. The wedding is December 20th. Does that work?" "Absolutely," Elena confirmed. After hanging up, Elena felt a surge of hope. Finally, something good was happening. She opened her laptop eagerly when the email arrived 30 minutes later. Then her world stopped. The email header read, "Wedding Performance Contract Event. The marriage celebration of Mr. James Blackwood and Miss Stephanie Lauron." James Blackwood. Her ex-boyfriend. The father of her unborn child. The man who had abandoned her 9 months ago when she told him about the pregnancy. Elena's hands trembled as she stared at the screen. James was getting married, and somehow, impossibly, she had been hired to sing at his wedding. Was this a coincidence? Or did James know exactly what he was doing? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, New York, Miami, London, or somewhere else. We love hearing from you. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our inspiring stories. Chapter 2. The Impossible Decision. Elena slammed her laptop shut and paced her small living room. Her mind spun with questions and emotions. How could this be happening? Did James orchestrate this deliberately, or was it a cruel twist of fate? Her phone buzzed with a text from the event coordinator. "Hello Elena, just confirming you received the contract details. Mr. Blackwood specifically requested a female vocalist with authentic emotional depth. Your demo was exactly what he wanted. Please confirm by tomorrow morning." The words, authentic emotional depth, made Elena's blood run cold. Those were James's exact words when they were together. He used to say, "Elena, your voice has this raw quality that makes people feel everything." He knew. James absolutely knew she was being hired. Elena didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her baby doing somersaults inside her. Why would James do this? To humiliate her? To show everyone how far he'd risen while she struggled? By morning, Elena had made a decision. She would decline the job. She still had some dignity, even if she was broke. But then she looked around her apartment. At the eviction warning on her counter. At her empty refrigerator. At the corner where a crib should be but wasn't because she couldn't afford one. When her best friend Rosa arrived that afternoon with groceries, Elena broke down crying and told her everything. "You should do it," Rosa said firmly. Elena stared at her in shock. "How can you say that? Listen to me, Elena. James thinks he has power over you. He thinks hiring you will make you look small. But what if you flip it? You need that money desperately. Take his trap and turn it into your triumph." Rosa continued. "Don't go as his victim. Go as Elena Martinez, a talented professional doing a job. And when you're done, walk out with $3,000 and your head high. Elena wiped her tears. You really think I can do this? I know you can, Rosa said fiercely. You've already survived heartbreak, poverty, and pregnancy alone. Singing at a wedding? That's nothing compared to what you've endured. That evening, Elena opened her laptop and typed a response to Sandra Chen. Dear Sandra, thank you for this opportunity. I accept the position. Please send the contract and song list. Sincerely, Elena Martinez. She hit send before she could change her mind. What Elena didn't know was that this decision would set off a chain of events that would change not just her life, but dozens of others who would witness what was about to unfold. Enjoying the story so far? Make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button. Comment below with your thoughts. Would you have accepted the job? We read every comment. 3 days after accepting the wedding job, something unexpected began happening to Elena. Lyrics started flowing through her mind, words and melodies that appeared while she sketched designs, while she cooked simple meals, while she tried to sleep at night. At first, Elena tried to ignore them. But the words kept coming, persistent and powerful. One rainy evening, she sat at her old keyboard, a gift from her grandmother years ago. Her fingers found the keys naturally, and a haunting melody emerged. Then the words poured out. You walked away without a second glance, said I didn't fit your master plan, but love remained when you said goodbye, love remained. Here am I. Elena's voice cracked with emotion as tears streamed down her face. But she kept going. You chased the gold, you chased the fame, but threw away a precious flame, a heart that loved without disguise, a truth you couldn't recognize. The song was raw, honest, and true. It told the story of abandonment and survival. It wasn't bitter or vengeful, just truthful. And truth, Elena was learning, had power all its own. She worked on the song every day, refining lyrics and perfecting the melody. She titled it, Love Remained. Sandra had sent her a list of traditional wedding songs to perform. Safe, romantic classics. But Elena kept working on her original composition anyway. Why are you writing this? Rosa asked one afternoon, listening to Elena practice. They won't let you perform it. Elena's hands rested on the keyboard. Maybe I just need to get these feelings out. Maybe the song is just for me. But deep down, Elena wondered if this song was meant for something bigger. Meanwhile, across Chicago in his luxury penthouse, James Blackwood stood by floor-to-ceiling windows, looking at the city lights below. He held expensive scotch and wore a satisfied smile. His friend Marcus stood beside him. I still don't understand why you hired her. That's cold, even for you. James sipped his drink. She needs the money, doesn't she? I'm actually being generous. 3,000 is more than she'd make in months. You know it'll hurt her, right? Singing at your wedding while pregnant with your kid. James's jaw tightened. That's not my kid. I made my position clear. Her choice, her consequences. Marcus looked disappointed. You used to be different. What happened? I grew up, James said coldly. In this world, you either win or lose. Elena was holding me back. She came from nothing. Stephanie understands my world. She's an asset, not a liability. What James didn't know was that sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. Sometimes it shows up at your wedding with a song that exposes everything you've tried to hide. 1 week before the wedding, Elena received a package containing an elegant navy dress, the outfit Sandra had selected for her to wear. The fabric was beautiful, designed to flow gracefully over her pregnant belly. Then came the text Elena had been dreading. Rehearsal this Thursday at 2 p.m. at Riverside Grand Hotel. Sound check and song review. Mr. Blackwood and Miss Lauron will be present. Elena's stomach dropped. She'd have to face James before the actual wedding. Thursday afternoon, Elena stood outside the massive Riverside Grand Hotel, her hand protective on her belly. The building was all marble columns and golden fixtures, a world away from her studio apartment. Inside was even more impressive. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Everything smelled expensive. Sandra greeted her warmly and led her to the riverside ballroom. The bride and groom are already inside. Ready? Elena nodded, though she felt anything but ready. Sandra pushed open the enormous doors. The ballroom was breathtaking. 30-foot ceilings, massive windows, hundreds of white roses. And there, near the stage, stood James Blackwood. He looked exactly as Elena remembered. Tall, handsome, impeccably dressed in a suit that probably cost more than her rent. He was laughing with the wedding planner, looking completely relaxed. Then James turned and saw Elena. For just a fraction of a second, something flickered across his face. Surprise. Guilt. But it vanished instantly, replaced by a smooth, neutral expression. "Ah," he said, his voice carrying across the ballroom. "The entertainment has arrived." The entertainment. Not Elena. Not even the singer. The entertainment. Those words hit like a slap, but Elena had practiced for this moment. She straightened her shoulders and walked toward the stage with her head high. "Hello," she said calmly. "I'm Elena Martinez, vocalist for your ceremony." James's eyes flickered to her pregnant belly, then quickly away. "Yes, we've heard good things. Sandra, shall we begin?" He didn't acknowledge knowing her. Pretended she was a complete stranger. Elena felt something shift inside her. She'd been worried about breaking down, but watching him act like she meant nothing sparked a different emotion. Cold, clear determination. "James, darling, the florist is asking about." A stunning blonde woman entered the ballroom and stopped when she saw Elena. This had to be Stephanie Laurent, the bride. Stephanie was everything Elena wasn't. Tall, slender, perfectly styled, wearing diamonds and designer clothes. She looked at Elena's pregnant belly with obvious judgment. "Who is this?" Stephanie asked coolly. "The singer," James said quickly. "Elena Martinez. She'll perform at the ceremony." Stephanie's eyes swept over Elena dismissively. "I hope you know appropriate wedding songs. Nothing too emotional or personal." "Of course," Elena said steadily. "I have the song list right here." For 30 minutes, Elena sang through the traditional selections while technicians adjusted equipment. Her voice filled the enormous space, rich, pure, heartbreakingly beautiful. Even Stephanie looked impressed. James stood at the back, arms crossed, listening intently. When Elena finished, Sandra applauded enthusiastically. "Wonderful. You're going to be perfect." James approached the stage, his expression unreadable. He stopped a few feet from Elena and said quietly, so only she could hear, "Your voice is still good. I'm glad you can work. I'm sure you need the money." The cruelty masked as concern made Elena's hands clench. But she smiled and said just as quietly, "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Blackwood. I'm very grateful." She emphasized Mr. Blackwood, making clear she was treating him as a stranger, a client, nothing more. After the rehearsal, Elena was almost to the ballroom doors when she heard footsteps behind her. "Excuse me, Miss Martinez?" Elena turned to find Stephanie standing there alone. Up close, despite her beauty and elegance, Stephanie looked tired, with worry lines around her eyes. "Yes," Elena said carefully. Stephanie hesitated. "Your voice really is remarkable. Where did you train?" "I didn't go to a prestigious music school," Elena said, trying not to sound defensive. "I learned from my grandmother and singing in community choirs." "I wasn't insulting you," Stephanie said softly. "It was a genuine compliment. There's something real in your voice that trained singers sometimes lose." An awkward silence fell. Then Stephanie asked something unexpected. "Can I ask you something? Please be honest." Elena's heart raced. "Okay." Stephanie's perfect composure cracked slightly. "Do you think James is a good man?" The question hung in the air like a bomb. Elena stared, completely shocked. Should she tell this woman the truth? That James was the father of her baby? That he'd abandoned her when she needed him most? But looking at Stephanie's face, Elena saw doubt, fear, and underneath the perfect exterior, a woman already questioning her choice. "Why are you asking me?" Elena said carefully. Stephanie glanced back at the ballroom doors, ensuring privacy. "You're the first person I've met who doesn't seem impressed by him. Everyone treats James like he's perfect. But you, when you looked at him, I saw something different." "What did you see?" Elena asked. "Recognition," Stephanie said quietly. "Like you've seen the real him, the person behind the expensive suits and charm." Elena wanted to scream the truth. But she also knew that wasn't her place. And practically, telling the truth now might cost her the $3,000 that meant survival. "I think only you can answer whether James is a good man," Elena said carefully. "I'm just the singer. I don't know him well enough to judge." It was technically true and a complete lie. Stephanie studied Elena's face, then nodded slowly. "You're right. I shouldn't ask a stranger about my own wedding." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Elena, thank you for being kind. Most people just tell me how lucky I am. It's nice to talk to someone who actually listens." Elena watched Stephanie walk away in her expensive heels. And in that moment, Elena felt unexpected pity. Because Stephanie, with all her money and beauty, was about to make the biggest mistake of her life. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Stephanie's question and the doubt in her eyes. At 2 a.m., Elena got up and sat at a keyboard, pulling out the sheet music for "Love Remained." Her hands trembled as she played through it. The song was powerful and honest. If she sang it at the wedding, everyone would know the truth. But she'd also lose her $3,000. She might be thrown out before finishing. And James would find ways to make her pay. "Don't do it," she told herself firmly. "Sing the traditional songs. Get paid. Go home." But another voice whispered, "What about Stephanie walking into this marriage with doubts? What about the truth?" Elena closed her eyes and made a decision. She would bring the sheet music for "Love Remained" to the wedding. She'd have it ready, but wouldn't decide until the moment came whether to actually perform it. December 20th dawned cold and clear in Chicago. Elena woke early, her stomach full of nervous butterflies. The twins, she hadn't known she was carrying twins yet, kicked inside her belly as if sensing her anxiety. "It's okay, little ones," Elena whispered, rubbing her stomach. "Mama's going to be brave today." She took her time getting ready, washing her hair and styling it in soft waves. She applied light, professional makeup, then carefully put on the navy dress Sandra had sent. Looking in the mirror, Elena barely recognized herself. She looked elegant, dignified, strong. "You can do this," she told her reflection. "You are enough." At 3 p.m., a car arrived to take her to Riverside Grand Hotel. Elena sat in the back seat, watching Chicago pass by, trying to calm her racing heart. At the hotel, she was directed to a preparation room near the ballroom. Other performers were there, a string quartet that would play during the ceremony. "You must be the vocalist," said an older man with a violin. "I'm Thomas. We're looking forward to your performance." "Thank you," Elena said, setting down her bag containing 2 folders of sheet music. One had the traditional songs Sandra requested. The other contained "Love Remained." Elena still hadn't decided which she would perform. At 4:30, Sandra rushed in, looking excited and frazzled. 1 hour until ceremony. Guests are arriving. "Elena, you'll perform during the processional as the bride walks down the aisle. Then you'll sing during the certificate signing." "Ready." "I'm ready," Elena lied. At 5 p.m., Elena was positioned near the stage. She peeked through a side door and saw the ballroom's transformation. Thousands of flowers, candles everywhere, crystal chandeliers sparkling overhead. 300 guests in expensive clothes filled white chairs. And at the altar, looking calm and confident, stood James Blackwood in a custom tuxedo. He looked like a man without a care in the world. Like he'd never hurt anyone. Elena felt cold anger rising. 5 minutes, Sandra whispered. The bride is ready. Elena's heart hammered as she walked onto the stage. 300 faces turned to look at her. She heard whispers. Who's that? The singer, I think. She's pregnant. How unusual. Through the back doors, Stephanie Laurent appeared in her spectacular wedding dress, looking like a princess but with uncertain eyes. The music began. Guests stood. Stephanie started her walk down the aisle. And Elena realized with absolute certainty what she had to do. Elena's hands gripped the microphone as she began singing the traditional processional song as planned. Her voice filled the ballroom, pure and beautiful. Guests listened mesmerized, some closing their eyes, others wiping tears. Elena watched Stephanie walk toward James step by step. She watched James's face. He wasn't looking at his bride with love. He looked satisfied, like a man closing a successful business deal. The ceremony continued. Vows were exchanged. Then the minister said, "The bride and groom will now sign the marriage certificate. While they do, our vocalist will perform again." This was Elena's moment. Elena stood slowly. The baby kicked inside her as if reminding her this mattered. Every eye turned to her. She looked at James bent over the certificate. At Stephanie's hand hesitating over the paper. At 300 guests waiting. And Elena made her choice. Elena's hands shook as she opened her folder. Instead of pulling out the traditional sheet music, she pulled out the pages for Love Remained. She looked at the pianist, showing him the music. Can you follow along? Simple progression. C, F, G, A, M. The pianist, a kind-faced older man, looked at the music, then at Elena's face. He saw determination, pain, and courage there. He nodded slowly. I'll follow your lead. Elena turned to the microphone. The ballroom was silent, waiting. James glanced up from the marriage certificate, annoyed. Is there a problem? No problem, Elena said clearly. I'd just like to perform a different song, if that's all right. Something special. Sandra looked panicked in the wings, shaking her head frantically. But James, not wanting a scene, waved dismissively. Fine, whatever. Just sing something. He had no idea what was coming. Elena closed her eyes briefly, gathering courage. Then she opened them, looked directly at James, and began to sing. The pianist found the first chord, and Elena's voice rose, achingly beautiful. You walked away without a second glance, said I didn't fit your master plan, but love remained when you said goodbye, love remained. Here am I. James's head snapped up. His face went pale. He knew that voice. Knew those words. Elena continued, her voice growing stronger. You chased the gold. You chased the fame but threw away a precious flame, a heart that loved without disguise, a truth you couldn't recognize. Guests began stirring. Whispers rippled through the crowd. This wasn't a typical wedding song. Stephanie looked from Elena to James, confusion and then slowly dawning realization crossing her face. Elena sang the chorus, tears rolling down her cheeks, tears of release, not weakness. You left me, but love remained in the child I carry every day. You left me, but I'm not afraid because love remained, love remained. The ballroom erupted in shocked whispers. Someone pulled out a phone and started recording. James stood frozen, his face red with rage and embarrassment. He looked like he wanted to stop Elena but was trapped by 300 witnesses and cameras now recording everything. Stephanie stared at Elena's pregnant belly with new understanding. Her face had gone completely white. Elena sang the second verse, unwavering. You said I didn't fit your world, that I was just a simple girl, but I'm not broken. I'm not still. I found my strength. I found my will. Stop this. James finally shouted, breaking protocol. Stop singing right now. But Elena didn't stop. The truth was pouring out like a river that had been dammed too long. You thought that you could walk away, leave me broken, make me pay, but every night and every day love remained, love remained. Sandra ran onto the stage trying to intervene, but the pianist kept playing. He'd heard the truth in Elena's voice and wasn't going to abandon her. Elena reached the bridge, her voice soaring powerfully. I'm not singing this for pity, I'm not singing this for pain, I'm singing so the world can see that love is stronger than your shame. Guests were standing now, some in shock, others in tears. Several people recorded on phones. Stephanie had stepped back from the altar, hand over her mouth, the marriage certificate unsigned. James looked like a man watching his life collapse. Elena sang the final chorus with everything she had. You left me, but love remained in the child I carry every day. You left me, but I'm not afraid because love remained, love remained. The last note hung in the air, beautiful and heartbreaking. Then silence. Absolute, complete silence. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Then, from somewhere in the middle of the ballroom, one person started clapping. Then another. Then another. Within seconds, half the ballroom was applauding. Not polite wedding applause, but real, powerful, emotional applause. Some people cried as they clapped. Others shouted encouragement. Brave. Tell your truth. James stood at the altar, his face a mask of fury and humiliation. He pointed at Elena with a shaking finger. You had no right. This is my wedding. But his words were drowned out by applause and chaos erupting in the ballroom. Stephanie turned to James, her voice icy despite her tears. That baby she's carrying. Is it yours? James opened his mouth, then closed it. The guilt on his face was answer enough. Is it yours? Stephanie repeated, her voice rising. Stephanie, listen. James reached for her, but she stepped back sharply. Don't touch me, she said, voice breaking. You told me you'd never been in serious love before. You said I was your first real relationship. You lied. She was nothing, James shouted, losing composure completely. Just a girlfriend before I became successful. She didn't matter. Those words, she didn't matter, hung in the air like poison. Elena felt something inside her break and heal simultaneously. Now everyone could see who James really was. Stephanie looked at James like she was seeing him for the first time. You got her pregnant and abandoned her. Then you hired her to sing at our wedding. What kind of person does that? You're overreacting, James tried desperately. Overreacting. Stephanie's laugh was bitter. I'm about to marry a man who treats women like they're disposable, who abandons pregnant girlfriends, who lies and manipulates. She looked down at the unsigned marriage certificate. I was having doubts all week. Now I know why. She picked up the expensive pen and dropped it on the floor. I'm not signing this. This wedding is over. The ballroom erupted in gasps and shouts. You can't do this, James shouted. Think about what you're throwing away. Everything you wanted, Stephanie corrected coldly. I'm done being a trophy wife for a man who doesn't know how to love. She turned to Elena, still on the stage. Thank you for your honesty. You saved me from the biggest mistake of my life. Then Stephanie gathered her wedding dress and walked down the aisle, away from James, away from the altar, away from a marriage that would have destroyed her. The ballroom descended into chaos. Guests were standing, talking loudly, some rushing to exits, others clustering to gossip. Phones were everywhere, recording, photographing, posting. James stood alone at the altar, abandoned by his bride, exposed before everyone in his business and social world. Security guards appeared with hotel management, trying to restore order. James's eyes locked on Elena, hatred burning in them. He started toward the stage, fists clenched. You ruined everything. But someone stepped between them. Marcus, James's friend from earlier. That's enough, Richard. Walk away. She destroyed my wedding. James shouted. No, said a voice from the crowd. An elegant older woman stepped forward. You destroyed it yourself. That young woman simply told the truth. Other guests murmured agreement. Elena realized most people weren't angry at her. They were angry at James. A distinguished man in his 60s pushed through the crowd. He wore an expensive suit and carried himself with authority. The guests stepped back respectfully. "I'm Robert Chen," he announced, climbing onto the stage beside Elena, board member at Blackwood Tech Industries. James's face went even paler. "I came to celebrate what I thought was a union between two good people," Mr. Chen continued. "Instead, I witnessed something far more valuable, the truth. This young woman showed more courage in 5 minutes than many show in a lifetime." He looked directly at James. "Mr. Blackwood, as of this moment, I'm calling an emergency board meeting to discuss your position as CEO. A man who treats people this way, who lies and manipulates, that's not someone who should lead our company." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "You can't do this," James protested. "I built that company. And you may have just destroyed it with your behavior," Mr. Chen said coldly. "Character matters, James." He turned to Elena. "Miss Martinez, I believe you were promised payment. I'll personally ensure you receive it, plus a bonus for your courage." He handed her a business card. "Please contact my office. I know venues that would be honored to have a singer of your caliber and integrity." Elena took the card with shaking hands. "Thank you." As Sandra led Elena toward a back exit, several guests stopped her. "You were amazing. Thank you for your honesty. Where can we hear more of your music?" Elena was overwhelmed. She'd expected anger and judgment. Instead, people treated her like a hero. A young woman grabbed Elena's hand. "Thank you," she said, tears streaming. "My ex did something similar. Seeing you stand up for yourself, it helped me. Really helped me." Elena squeezed her hand. "You're stronger than you know." At the back exit, Sandra pressed an envelope into Elena's hands. "Your payment, $3,000 as promised." Mr. Chin added a $2,000 bonus. $5,000. Elena stared at the envelope, hardly believing it. This money would change everything. "The car is here," Sandra said. Elena walked into the cool December evening, clutching the envelope. Behind her, she could still hear chaos from the disrupted wedding. But as the car pulled away from Riverside Grand Hotel, Elena felt something unexpected. For the first time since James had abandoned her, Elena felt truly free. Back at her apartment, her best friend Rosa was waiting with her phone, looking shocked. "Elena. Oh my God, are you okay? You're everywhere. Someone recorded your performance and posted it online. It's been shared thousands of times already. Millions have watched it." Elena's hands froze. "What?" Rosa showed her phone. There was Elena singing "Love Remained," capturing everything. Her emotional performance, James's horrified reaction, Stephanie walking away, the standing ovation. The caption read, "Singer exposes groom's betrayal at luxury wedding. Most powerful 5 minutes you'll ever watch." Below, thousands of comments scrolled, "This woman is a queen. The courage this took. I'm crying. This is beautiful and heartbreaking. That man is disgusting. Where can I download this song?" Elena sat down heavily, staring in disbelief. "It's still spreading," Rosa said, scrolling through platforms. "Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Everywhere. People are calling you the wedding truth singer. News articles are being written." Elena's phone started buzzing uncontrollably with notifications. "Turn it off," Elena said, feeling panicked. "I need a minute." Rosa turned off Elena's phone and hugged her friend. "It's okay. Breathe." Elena barely slept that night. When morning came, she made tea and stared out her window at Chicago waking up. Rosa had stayed overnight and woke to find Elena lost in thought. "How are you feeling?" "Scared," Elena admitted. "What if James sues me? What if he ruins my career?" "Stop," Rosa said firmly. "Focus on what is. You have $5,000. You told the truth. And the world is on your side. Rosa picked up her phone and gasped. The video has 20 million views now. And look, job offers in your email. Elena turned her phone back on. Her inbox was flooded. Wedding venue in California wants to book you, record label interested in contract, talk show wants interview, women's organization wants you to speak at conference. Elena scrolled through, hands shaking. This can't be real. It's real, Rosa confirmed, checking sender addresses. These are legitimate companies. Your story touched people. Later that day, Elena received a call from a music producer named Diana Foster. I've been watching your video, Diana said warmly. You have an incredible voice, Margaret. More importantly, you have authenticity. I'd love to discuss your future, recording albums, performing, inspiring people with your music. They arranged to meet that week. 3 months later, in January, Elena went into labor. After 12 intense hours, on January 15th at 2:47 p.m., she gave birth. Surprise, the doctor said with a huge smile. You're having twins. Elena was too exhausted to be shocked. The ultrasounds had somehow missed the second baby. The nurses placed 2 perfect little girls on Elena's chest. Elena looked at her daughters, her heart expanding with more love than she'd ever known. What are their names? The nurse asked. Hope and Grace, Elena said softly. This is Hope. She touched the first baby's hand. And this is Grace. Hope, because these babies represented a future filled with possibility. Grace, because Elena had learned about forgiveness, both for others and herself. 1 week after Hope and Grace were born, Love Remained was officially released. Within 24 hours, it had been streamed over 10 million times. Within a week, it hit #1 on multiple charts. The song became an anthem for anyone told they weren't enough. Single mothers played it while working multiple jobs. Teenagers found comfort in its lyrics. Survivors of all kinds shared it with their stories. Elena received messages from around the world. Your song helped me leave my abusive relationship. I played this at my wedding to remind myself I'm marrying someone who values me. My daughter listens every morning to remember she's enough. The song became bigger than Elena, bigger than James. It became a movement about truth, dignity, and the power of vulnerability. 6 months later, Elena performed at a women's empowerment conference, holding Hope while Rosa held Grace backstage. Looking out at thousands of faces, Elena shared her story. I'm not standing here because I'm perfect, Elena said. I'm here because I survived. Because I chose truth over silence. Because I learned that my worth isn't determined by who abandons me, but by who I choose to become. The audience erupted in applause. If you've ever been told you're not enough, Elena continued, those are lies. You are enough, exactly as you are. Don't let anyone make you small to make themselves feel big. Stand up. Speak your truth. And remember, you are loved, you are valued, you are enough. As Elena finished speaking, she thought about James briefly. She'd heard he'd resigned from his company and moved to another city. Part of her felt sad for him, sad that he had so much but so little joy. But mostly, Elena felt grateful. Grateful for her daughters sleeping peacefully backstage. Grateful for Rosa, who'd never left her side. Grateful for the community of supporters who'd rallied around her story. Grateful for the music that had saved her. That evening, back in her new 2-bedroom apartment, the one she'd been able to afford with her earnings, Elena sat in the nursery rocking Hope and Grace. The walls were painted soft yellow, filled with books and stuffed animals. Her phone buzzed with a message from Diana Foster. Just confirmed, your first album drops next month. Pre-orders are already through the roof. Elena, you're changing lives. Elena smiled and looked down at her sleeping daughters. You know what, little ones? She whispered. Your mama was told she wasn't enough. She was abandoned, humiliated, and left with nothing. But she found her voice. And that voice didn't just save her, it's helping others find theirs too. Hope made a small sound in her sleep, and Elena gently kissed her forehead, then Grace's. The world tried to tell us we were broken, Elena continued softly. But we're not broken. We're warriors. And we're going to be just fine. Outside her window, Chicago's lights twinkled in the darkness. Somewhere out there were thousands of women watching Elena's video, listening to her song, finding courage in her story. Single mothers working night shifts. Teenagers dealing with heartbreak. Survivors of betrayal learning to stand again. Elena's phone buzzed again, another message, this time from a woman in Australia. I'm 7 months pregnant and my boyfriend just left me. I found your video tonight and cried for an hour. Then I played Love Remained and realized I'm going to be okay. Thank you for showing me that broken isn't the end. It's the beginning of something stronger. Thank you for your courage. Elena wiped tears from her eyes and typed back. You are going to be okay. More than okay. You're going to be amazing. Your baby is lucky to have a mother as strong as you. Keep going. Love remains. Red heart. She set down her phone and looked around the nursery she'd created from nothing. From desperation and heartbreak, she'd built something beautiful. Not just a home but a life. Not just survival but purpose. The song that had exposed James's cruelty had become a lifeline for thousands. The wedding that was supposed to humiliate her had become the moment she reclaimed her power. The ending she'd feared had become a beginning she never imagined. As Elena rocked her daughters, humming the melody of Love Remained, she thought about the woman she'd been a year ago. Scared, broke, abandoned, questioning her worth. And she thought about the woman she'd become, a mother, a singer, a voice for the voiceless, someone who'd learned that truth, no matter how painful, will always set you free. We did it, Elena whispered to Hope and Grace. We survived. We thrived. And we're going to help others do the same. In another part of Chicago, James Blackwood sat alone in a modest apartment, scrolling through news articles about Elena's success. Her album announcement. Her speaking engagements. The lives she was changing. Marcus had been right. James had thrown away everything that mattered chasing things that didn't. He'd lost his company, his reputation, his chance at a family. And for what? An image that crumbled the moment truth touched it. James's phone showed a notification. Elena's first album, titled Love Remained, would be released next month. The cover showed Elena holding her twin daughters, all three of them smiling at the camera. The image radiated strength, joy, and genuine happiness. For the first time in his life, James understood what he'd lost. Not just Elena, but his own humanity. His own capacity for real love, real connection, real meaning. He'd spent his life building a perfect facade, never realizing that authentic imperfection was worth more than polished lies. James picked up his phone and typed a message he'd written and deleted 100 times. Elena, I know I have no right to contact you. I know my apology means nothing after what I did. But I need you to know, watching you rise from the ashes of what I tried to turn into your humiliation has shown me what true strength looks like. You deserved better than me. Your daughters are lucky to have you. I hope someday I can become the kind of man who values people for who they are, not what they can do for me. I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. He stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it. Some apologies come too late. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. James had to live with his choices. And Elena had moved on to a life far better than anything he could have given her. 3 years later. Epilogue. Elena stood backstage at Madison Square Garden, adjusting her earpiece while Rosa helped Hope and Grace, now energetic 3-year-olds, into their flower girl dresses. Mama, are there lots of people? Hope asked, her eyes wide. So many people, Elena confirmed, kneeling down to their level. And they're all here because they believe in love, in truth, and in being brave. Like in your song. Grace said excitedly. Exactly like in my song, Elena smiled, kissing both their foreheads. Tonight was Elena's biggest concert yet, a sold-out show with 20,000 people in attendance. Her album had gone platinum. Love Remained had become an international anthem. But more importantly, Elena had started a foundation supporting single mothers, providing resources, childcare assistance, and job training. The woman she'd become was built on the ashes of who she'd been. Rosa squeezed Elena's hand. "Remember when we sat in your tiny apartment, wondering how you'd pay rent?" Elena laughed. "Remember when $3,000 felt like winning the lottery?" "And now look at you," Rosa said, gesturing to the stage where thousands of fans waited. "You turned your pain into purpose." The stage manager gave the signal. 2 minutes, Miss Martinez. Elena took a deep breath, holding Hope and Grace's hands. "Ready to watch Mama sing?" "Ready," they chorused. As Elena walked toward the stage, she heard the roar of the crowd. She thought briefly about that December night 3 years ago, standing on a stage at James's wedding, terrified and desperate, making the hardest choice of her life. She'd been trying to survive. She hadn't known she was about to soar. The lights dimmed. The crowd screamed. Elena stepped into the spotlight, picked up the microphone, and smiled at 20,000 faces. "Good evening, Chicago," she called out, and the crowd went wild. "I want to tell you a story about a woman who was told she wasn't enough, who was abandoned when she needed love most, who stood on a stage one night and decided that truth was more powerful than shame." The crowd cheered, many already crying. "That woman was me," Elena continued. "And tonight, 3 years later, I'm standing on this stage not as someone broken, but as someone who learned that broken things can be rebuilt into something even more beautiful." She nodded to her band, and the opening notes of Love Remained filled the massive arena. As Elena sang, she looked out at the sea of faces, women and men, young and old, all singing along to words that had come from her darkest moment. Hope and Grace watched from the wings with Rosa, dancing and singing their mother's song. This was redemption. This was triumph. This was proof that the ending of one story could be the beginning of something extraordinary. When the final note faded, 20,000 people rose to their feet, applauding, crying, celebrating not just Elena's music but her message. That truth matters, that courage counts, that love, real love, always remains. Elena bowed, tears streaming down her face, and whispered to herself the words she now told audiences around the world. "You are enough. You always were. You always will be." The end. Thank you so much for watching this incredible journey of courage, truth, and redemption. If Elena's story moved you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that prove the human spirit is unbreakable. Drop a comment below telling us, where are you watching from? We love hearing from our global community. What was your favorite moment in Elena's story? Have you ever had to choose between truth and comfort? Share your experience. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next powerful story. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message today. Someone who needs to remember they are enough, exactly as they are. Remember, your worth is not determined by who stays or who leaves. It's determined by the truth you carry and the courage you show. See you in the next story, friends. Until then, keep standing in your truth. Flexed biceps, red heart.